North Korea. Rason GDP growth scenario. 53. North Korea's Golden Triangle. Creating the miracle on the Taedong River. North Korean Workers' Party can do a market economy. After denuclearization, Rason will enter a market economy and usher in an era of $20,000. Per capita GDP enjoyed by a population of 350,000 within 15 years. Rason's GDP is set at $1.1 billion in 2027, the benchmark year for transitioning to a market economy immediately following denuclearization. Of course, this figure is incomparably lower than Pyongyang's $11.7 billion, which stands towering with a massive gap, but it is about average among provincial cities, excluding Pyongyang. In 2027, Rason's GDP per capita starts at $5,500. This is significantly higher than the national average of $1,700 in North Korea and places it among the top tier of the country's 16 major cities. Rason City is North Korea's only special city-level economic zone located at the northernmost point of North Hamgyong Province. It was promoted to Rajin-Sonbong City in 1993 by combining Rajin and Sonbong and was renamed Rason City in 2000. The area is approximately 746 square kilometers, and the population is approximately 210,000 as of 2026. The area is approximately 746 kilometers, and the population is approximately 210,000 as of 2026. Rason's location is extremely unique in terms of strategic geopolitics. It borders Hunchun City in Jilin Province, China to the west, and Khasan in Primorsky Krai, Russia to the north, and possesses a natural ice-free port open to the East Sea to the east. The border point at the mouth of the Tumen River, where these three countries meet, is a geographical nodal point for logistics among the three Northeast Asian nations, which is the fundamental reason why Rason can function as a Northeast Asian hub port. The climate is milder than Chongjin due to the influence of the warm currents of the East Sea, and Rajin Port is an ice-free port capable of operating year-round without freezing. This is the key reason why Rajin Port receives Russia's strategic interest. Unlike Vladivostok, which suffers from freezing issues in winter, Rason was designated as North Korea's first free economic trade zone in December 1991. In conjunction with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP's Tumen River Development Project, TRADP. This is North Korea's first experiment in market opening, more than 10 years ahead of the Khasan Industrial Complex 2002. Despite more than 30 years of experience operating special economic zones, they have reached the present day in 2026 without realizing their full potential due to international sanctions and a lack of infrastructure. Rason City's current GDP is approximately $400 million, and its GDP per capita is approximately $1,900, which is similar to or slightly higher than the national average of North Korea. Let's take a look at the core assets of Rason City and what makes them special. Asset 1 is Rajin Port, the only strategic ice-free port on the East Sea. Rajin Port is a natural ice-free port located at the northernmost point of the East Sea, and stable year-round navigation is possible as islands such as Myeongdo, Daechodo, and Sochodo act as breakwaters. Currently, there are 7 piers at Rajin Port. Pier 1 is operated by China's Changli Group under a 50-year lease, and Pier 3 is operated by the Russian side. Piers 4 through 6 are undeveloped and are prime sites that various investors, including those from South Korea, Japan, and the United States, can bid on after denuclearization. The total berthing capacity of Rajin Port is currently about 3 million tons, but it can be expanded to over 10 million tons if the entire pier is modernized. In particular, the fact that Russia is already utilizing Pier 3 as a route to export Siberian coal to Japan proves that Rajin Port is not merely a concept, but an already functioning international logistics hub. Asset 2 is the Russian link that has already opened as the Khasan Rajin Railway. The 54 kilometers Khasan-Rajin Railway is built on Russian standard gauge and connects directly to the Trans-Siberian Railway (TSR). This railway was already opened in 2013 and has already been proven as a multimodal transport route for transporting Russian coal to Pier 3 of Rajin Port for maritime export to Japan and Korea. Once this 54 kilometers railway is connected to the Trans-Korean Railway (TKR) after denuclearization, the Eurasian Railway route connecting Busan, Rajin, Khasan, and Moscow will be completed. The Busan-Europe route, which currently takes more than 40 days by sea transport, can be shortened to 15 to 18 days by using this railway. Asset 3 is a new bridge over the Tumen River, scheduled to open in June 2026. North Korea and Russia are constructing a dedicated automobile bridge across the Tumen River, with its opening scheduled for June 2026. This bridge, with a total length of 4.7 kilometers, enables cars and trucks to cross the border in addition to the existing railway route. After the lifting of sanctions, this bridge will become a key passage for Vladivostok Rason automobile tourism and logistics trucks. Asset 4 is the geographical connection to Hunchun, China. The distance from Rason to Hunchun, China is approximately 70 kilometers by road, or about 1 hour by car. Hunchun is an inland city in Jilin Province, China, and has no outlet to the East Sea, so access to the sea through Rason is urgent. China's strongest motivation for developing Rason is to ship the hinterland cargo volume of China's 3 northeastern provinces, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning, to the Pacific Ocean, via Rason, and this is the fundamental reason why China leased Pier 1. Asset 5 is rare earth, fisheries, and forestry resources. The North Hamgyong Province area near Rason is adjacent to rare earth and graphite deposits, while the abundant marine resources of the East Coast pollock, squid, sauri, etc., and forest resources along the Tumen River form the industrial hinterland of Rason. This is the current status and master plan for Rason City by district. Rason City, covering 746 square kilometers, is divided into 7 development zones based on geographical and functional characteristics. Zone 1 is the Rajin Port International Multimodal Logistics Hub, located on the eastern coast of the Rajin Peninsula, covering an area of approximately 25 square kilometers. It is the heart of Rason's development and a natural port area with 7 piers. The master plan realizes Northeast Asia's premier integrated logistics hub by specializing 7 docks by function. Pier 1, currently leased by China's Changli Group, will be maintained and expanded as a dedicated pier for shipping cargo from China's 3 northeastern provinces to the Pacific. It will transition from handling small-scale coal and minerals to handling containers and install additional cranes. Pier 2 will be developed as a dedicated container terminal for Korea's HMM or Hyundai Glovis. Once the direct container route between Busan and Rajin is established following denuclearization, Pier 2 will become a northern hub for Korean logistics on the East Coast. Pier 3, currently operated by Russia's Rason will be maintained exclusively for TSR-linked coal and mineral exports, but the handling capacity will be expanded to 3 times the current level. Undeveloped Piers 4 through 6 will be specialized as an LNG import terminal, a dedicated automobile export pier, and a cruise passenger pier, respectively. Pier 7 will be converted from a military and government-exclusive use to a private fishing port. We are establishing a free trade zone FTZ bonded warehouse complex behind the docks. We will create a hub where cargo from the 3 Northeast Asian countries, Korea, China, and Russia, is sorted, processed, and re-exported by integrating cold storage warehouses, seafood, and food, general bonded warehouses, minerals and machinery, and e-commerce logistics centers. The investment scale is approximately 2 trillion won, consisting of about 1.5 trillion won for port modernization and the new development of Piers 4 through 6, and about 500 billion won for the hinterland logistics complex. The funding consists of 40% FDI from port operators PSA International Singapore and DP World UAE, 40% port infrastructure loans from ADB, and 20% investment from the Incheon Port Authority of Korea. The annual GDP contribution from port logistics services is approximately $400 million. This is based on the 10th year of the base scenario. Zone 2 is the Khasan Rajin Railway Industrial Corridor, an area of approximately 30 square kilometers along the inland railway line. It is an industrial hinterland of the 54-kilometer railway line connecting the TSR and TKR. The master plan develops the Khasan Rajin Railway from a simple freight line into a complex logistics and industrial corridor. Industrial clusters are arranged at intervals of 5 to 10 kilometers along the railway line. A Russian goods collection and sorting center will be located near Khasan border station, a food processing and frozen logistics center at an intermediate point, and a final inspection, and packaging center for finished export products near Rajin Station. In parallel with the railway passenger route, an international tourist train is operated, allowing tourists to travel by train from Vladivostok to Rajin. We are promoting double tracking and signal automation to expand railway track capacity from the current 5 million tons per year to 30 million tons. The investment scale is approximately 500 billion won for double tracking and signal modernization, approximately 300 billion won for industrial clusters, and a total of approximately 800 billion won. The funding sources are technical cooperation between Russia's RZHD Russian Railways Corporation and Korail, and a transport infrastructure loan from the ADB. The annual GDP contribution from railway logistics and services is approximately $100 million. Zone 3 is the Sonbong Oil, Energy, and Chemical Industrial Zone, covering an area of about 20 square kilometers around the Sonbong Peninsula. Sonbong is an energy industry hub home to Seungri Chemical, North Korea's only refining facility. The master plan develops the Sonbong area into an energy and petrochemical hub on the east coast. We will modernize the Seungri Chemical refining facility designed capacity of 40,000 barrels per day. We will receive Russian ESPO crude oil via the Khasan Rajin Railway or LNG tankers bound. For Sakhalin, refine it and export it to the Northeast Asian market. By constructing an LNG import terminal at Sonbong Port to import Russian LNG and operating a 500 megawatts LNG combined cycle power plant, electricity self-sufficiency will be possible throughout Rajin. In the mid to long term, we will construct an ethane cracker vertical integration of Russian natural gas, ethane, ethylene, polyethylene, to develop Rason into a Northeast Asian export hub for petrochemical materials. The scale of investment is approximately 300 billion won for the modernization of refining facilities, approximately 400 billion won for the LNG terminal, and approximately 500 billion won for the power plant, totaling approximately 1.2 trillion won. The funding sources are a joint venture between Russia's Rosneft and Gazprom, technical cooperation with Doosan Energy Ability, and an ADB energy loan. The annual GDP contribution from energy and petrochemicals is approximately $300 million. Zone 4 is the Rason Export Processing Free Economic Zone, located in the inland area of the city center, covering an area of approximately 30 square kilometers. As a key manufacturing hub of the Rason Special Economic Zone, this is a zone that finally realizes the original purpose of the Free Economic and Trade Zone designated 30 years ago after denuclearization. The master plan designs this area as a multinational export processing complex where companies from the 3 Northeast Asian countries will move in simultaneously. Production plants of Chinese companies from Hunchun and Yanji will be located in the Chinese Enterprise Zone 10 square kilometers. as companies in China's 3 northeastern provinces are currently seeking production sites. With low wages, Rason functions as an overseas processing base to replace production within China. In the Korean corporate zone 10 square kilometers, the Khasan industrial complex model will be applied to attract assembly plants for electronic components, textiles, and automotive parts. The difference from Khasan is that Rason can also export to China and Russia, making its market more than 3 times larger. The International Enterprise Zone 10 square kilometers attracts processing and trading factories from Japanese, American, and European companies. We will install a dedicated power grid connected to an LNG power plant, fiber optic internet, a multilingual service center, and a multinational medical institution within the complex. The investment scale is approximately 1 trillion won for infrastructure, 1 trillion won for Korean corporate FDI, and 500 billion won for Chinese corporate FDI, totaling approximately 2.5 trillion won. The funding sources are the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, Korean Enterprise Zone, China AIIB, Loans Chinese Enterprise Zone, and ADB Industrialization Loans. The GDP contribution from the export processing manufacturing industry is approximately $500 million annually. Zone 5 is the Rason Tourism and Marine Resort Zone, covering the coast of Bipado and Uamdong, an area of approximately 15 square kilometers. Bipado Island and the nearby coast on the east coast of Rason boast pristine natural scenery that offers a direct view of the East Sea horizon. The master plan develops this area into a complex marine resort that attracts tourists from all 3 Northeast Asian countries. We are constructing a 4- or 5-star resort, 200 rooms on Bipado. If a direct cruise 4-6 hours between Vladivostok and Rajin is launched, it will become a hub for Russian tourists visiting the East Sea. We are jointly developing a Hunchun Rason day tour package with a Chinese tourism company. Once direct flights from Korea to Rason 30 minutes from Sokcho are established, after denuclearization, it will function as an international weekend tourist destination for residents of Korea's east coast. We are developing a tourism package linked to Chilbosan 3 hours by car from Rason. The 2-night, 3-day course, which involves an overnight stay in Rason, followed by a visit to Chilbosan, is a key product designed to extend the duration of stay in Rason and boost tourism spending. The investment scale is approximately 300 billion won for resort facilities and approximately 100 billion won for tourism infrastructure, totaling approximately 400 billion won. The funding comes from FDI by Korean resort companies and cooperative investment with the Russian Ministry of Tourism. The annual GDP contribution from tourism and marine services is approximately $100 million. Zone 6 is the Tumen River Border Trade and Smart Commerce Zone, an area of about 15 square kilometers north of the Tumen River bordering Khasan. It is a trilateral border trade hub between Korea, China, and Russia linked to the Tumen River Bridge, which is scheduled to open in June 2026. The master plan constructs the Rason International Trade Zone, a complex facility for customs, quarantine, and immigration south of the Tumen River Bridge. This zone is designated as a free economic zone FS, where the 3 Northeast Asian countries meet. It integrates a duty-free shopping mall, simultaneous sale of consumer goods from Korea, China, and Russia, an international convention center, annual hosting of the Rason Investment Forum, a trilateral currency exchange office, and a multilingual business service center. We are promoting the Northeast Asia Frontier Economic Zone Initiative, which links Hunchun, Rason, and Khasan into a single economic community, together with an international consultative body, a successor organization to TRADP. The investment scale is approximately 100 billion won for the construction of the trade zone, and approximately 200 billion won for duty-free commercial facilities, totaling approximately 300 billion won. The funding comes from AIIB and ADB border infrastructure loans. The GDP contribution is approximately $100 million annually from border trade and duty-free services. Zone 7 is the Rason New City, Education, and Smart Administration Zone, located in the western, inland area of the city, covering an area of approximately 20 square kilometers. It accommodates the influx of population resulting from Rason's economic growth and establishes an international city infrastructure for business personnel from 3 countries. The master plan creates a smart new city capable of accommodating 100,000 people in the western inland area of Rason. The core anchor of the new city is Rajin International University, specializing in logistics, management, international trade, energy engineering, and Korean-Chinese-Russian translation and interpretation. By operating a trilateral joint campus of Incheon National University in Korea, Yanbian University in China, and the Far Eastern Federal University in Russia, Rason will become an international education hub in Northeast Asia. We are introducing a smart administrative system, automated visa issuance, digital customs, and multilingual civil complaint processing for the first time in North Korea at Rason, raising the investment environment to international standards. The scale of investment is approximately 1 trillion won for new city infrastructure and approximately 200 billion won for the international university, totaling approximately 1.2 trillion won. Funding sources are the ADB Urban Development Loan and the Korea-China-Russia Trilateral University Cooperation Fund. The GDP contribution is approximately $100 million annually for education, administration, and services. This is the GDP growth scenario for Rason. We set the starting point at the time of the denuclearization agreement in 2027 with a population of 210,000 and a GDP of approximately $400 million, approximately $1,900 per capita. Rason's 5 major growth engines are port logistics, maximum contribution, export processing manufacturing, energy, and petrochemicals, cross-border trade and tourism, and education and services. We use Singapore's early growth trajectory as a benchmark for comparison. Singapore grew rapidly. From a per capita GDP of $516 at the time of independence in 1965 through its free port logistics hub strategy, reaching $12,000 in 1990 and $23,000 in 2000. Rason has a smaller population than Singapore, a larger hinterland market, Korea, China, and Russia, and already has 30 years of experience as a special economic zone. However, there is a difference in that the initial level of infrastructure is much lower than that of Singapore. The baseline scenario is a phased path toward becoming a logistics hub. This scenario assumes that after denuclearization, port and railway infrastructure is developed as expected, and export processing complexes get on track. 3 years after denuclearization, development of Piers 4 through 6 at Rajin Port will begin. A direct shipping route for Korean containers will be opened. 50 companies will move into the export processing complex, and border trade across the Tumen River bridge will be normalized. The city's GDP will be approximately $1 billion, its population 240,000, and its GDP per capita approximately 4,167. In 4 to 10 years after denuclearization, the modernization of Rajin Port will be completed. Handling 10 million tons annually, the connection between TKR and TSR will be completed. 200 companies will be established in the export processing complex, and the LNG power plant will be completed. The city's GDP will be approximately $2.5 billion, its population 300,000, and its GDP per capita approximately $8,133. A per capita GDP of $20,000 will be achieved between 11 and 22 years after denuclearization. The city's GDP will be approximately $7 billion and the population will reach 350,000. Based on the 2027 target, Denuclearization will take approximately 22 years until 2049. This is similar to the speed at which Singapore reached a per capita GDP of $10,000 approximately 22 years after its independence in 1965, and Rason achieving $20,000 in 22 years, twice as fast as an optimistic baseline scenario comparable to Singapore's. The optimistic scenario is the TSR-TKR Eurasian Hub model. This scenario assumes that the TKR-TSR connection is completed within 7 years of denuclearization, and that cargo volumes from the 4 countries of South Korea, China, Russia, and Japan are concentrated in Rason. With the opening of the Tumen River Bridge June 2026 and denuclearization proceeding simultaneously, the speed of initial investment execution is accelerating dramatically. 5 years after denuclearization, Rajin Port will achieve an annual throughput of 5 million tons. 100 enterprises will be in operation at the export processing complex. The city's GDP will be approximately $1.8 billion. The population will be 280,000. And the GDP per capita will be approximately $6,428. Under an optimistic scenario, a per capita GDP of $20,000 is achieved in about 15 years after denuclearization. At this point, the GDP will be approximately $7 billion and the population will be 350,000. For this scenario to be realized, the TKR-TSR must be completed, and Rason must become a true gateway for logistics across the Eurasian continent. The pessimistic scenario is a model of delayed infrastructure development. This scenario assumes that the implementation of denuclearization is intermittent. The connection between the TKR and TSR is delayed by more than 20 years, and the attraction of companies to export processing zones is sluggish. 10 years after denuclearization, the city's GDP will be approximately $1 billion, its population 240,000, and its GDP per capita approximately 4,167. And it will take about 40 years after denuclearization to achieve a GDP per capita of $20,000, which will be reached only in 2067. This is an extremely disappointing trajectory compared to Rason's potential, demonstrating the importance of infrastructure investment and political stability. This is a comprehensive estimate of GDP contributions by industry, based on the baseline scenario. 15 years after denuclearization, the port logistics and transportation services sector accounts for 32% of the total GDP, with an annual value of approximately $800 million. This is Rason's core competitive advantage and a unique industry that cannot be replaced by other cities. The investment will cost approximately $2 trillion. The export processing manufacturing sector accounts for approximately $700 million annually, or 28% of GDP. The investment will cost approximately $2.5 trillion. The energy and petrochemical sector accounts for 16% of GDP, with an annual revenue of approximately $400 million. The investment will cost approximately $1.2 trillion. The cross-border trade and tourism sector accounts for approximately $300 million annually, or 12% of GDP. The investment requires approximately $700 billion. The education, services, and domestic demand sectors amount to approximately $300 million annually, accounting for 12% of GDP. The investment will cost approximately $1.2 trillion. When these are added together 15 years after denuclearization, Rason City's GDP is approximately $2.5 billion, its population is 330,000, and its GDP per capita is approximately 7,575. The total investment required is approximately 7 to 8 trillion, which will be executed in installments over 15 years. The decisive distinguishing feature of Rason is that it is the only city where the interests of the 3 Northeast Asian countries intersect. There is only one reason why Rason is fundamentally different from all other North Korean cities. The point is that the three major powers, South Korea, China, and Russia, all have interests in Rason. China needs Rason Port as a Pacific outlet for its three inland northeastern provinces. Russia needs the Khasan-Rajin Railway as an export route for Siberian resources to Asia. Korea needs Rason as the East Coast starting point for TKR connecting to the Eurasian continent. Rason, where the interests of these three countries intersect, is a city that no single country can give up. That is why Rason can be placed at the core of the most powerful economic incentive package in denuclearization negotiations, and at the same time, why it is most likely to become the North Korean city where international investment will be concentrated most rapidly after denuclearization. The moment Rason's 30-year history as a special economic zone, the already opened Khasan Railway, the Tumen River Bridge opening in June 2026, and denuclearization align, Rason will become the first city in North Korea to grow and the fastest to achieve a per capita GDP of $20,000. Next time, I will discuss the growth scenario of Khasan. Thank you.